Hello, welcome to the last section of the course, Thread Synchronization Utilities. We'll start this section by controlling concurrent access to one or more copies of a resource. Then we'll be waiting for multiple concurrent events and synchronizing tasks in a common point. Moving further, we'll run concurrent phase tasks. After finishing this, we'll be controlling phase change and exchange data between concurrent tasks. Finally, we'll be completing and linking tasks asynchronously. Now we move on to the first video of this section, controlling concurrent access to one or more copies of a resource. In this video, we're going to learn how to use the semaphore mechanism provided by the Java language to protect more than one copy of a resource. You're going to implement an example which has a print queue that could print documents in 3 different printers. This section covers the use of high-level mechanisms to synchronize multiple threads. These high-level mechanisms are semaphores, countdown latch, cyclic barrier, phaser, exchanger, and completable future. To begin with this project, we first need to create a new Java project and name it anything of your choice. Create a class named printQ that will implement the print queue. Now, import these required Java libraries. This class will have 3 private attributes. Let's add a code for each of them. So, a semaphore named as semaphore, an array of booleans named as free printers, and a lock named as lock printers. Then we implement the constructor of the class with this code snippet. Here it initializes the 3 attributes of the class. That is the semaphore attribute, free printers, and the lock printers. An important point in this step is the constructor of the printQ class and the initialization of the semaphore object. Here we pass the value 3 as the parameter of this constructor, so we're creating a semaphore that protects 3 resources. Next, we implement the printJob method with this line of code. This method will simulate the printing of a document. It receives an object called document as a parameter. First of all, the printJob method calls the acquire method to acquire access to the semaphore. This method can throw an interrupted exception, so we include the acquire method with this line of code. Get the number of the printers assigned to this printJob using the private method getPrinter. Then we implement the lines that simulate the printing of a document waiting for a random period of time with these lines of code. With this, we finally releases the semaphore by calling the release method and also marking the printer used as free with this line of code. Further, we've assigned true to the corresponding index in the free printers array. Executing this step, the first 3 threads that calls the acquire method will get access to the critical section, while the rest will be blocked. When a thread finishes a critical section and releases the semaphore, another thread will acquire it. Next, we implement the getPrinter method with this line of code. It's a private method that returns an int value and has no parameters. First, we declare an int variable to store the index of the printer. Then, get access to the lock printers object. Post that, we enter this block of code. Here we find the first true value in the free printers array and save its index in a variable. Here we have modified the value to false as these printers will be busy. Finally, we add this code snippet to free the lock printers object and return the index of the true value. Next, we create a class called Job and specify that it implements the runnable interface. Now this class implements the job that will send a document to the printer. In the Job class, we declare a printQ object and call it as a printQ. Then we implement the constructor of the class with these lines of code. This constructor initializes a printQ object declared in the class. Also, implement the run method. Within the run method, we enter this block of code. First, this method writes a message to the console representing that the job has started its execution. Then, with this line of code, it calls the printJob method of the printQ object. Finally, the method writes a message to the console representing that it's finished its execution. Further, we implement the main class by creating a class named main. In this main class, we implement the main method with this line of code, importing the class which we have created previously. These are the printQ class and job class. Now we create a printQ object named as printQ. Enter this block of code. In this part of the code, we create 12 threads. Each one of these threads will execute a job object that will send a document to the printQ. And this part of the code, we finally start the 12 threads. Let's look at it working now. View the output in the console window. When we run this code, we get this output. You can see how the first 3 print jobs start at the same time. Then, when one printer finishes its job, another one begins. The semaphore class has 3 additional versions of the acquire method. Those are the acquire uninterruptibly method, try acquire method, and try acquire with long timeout and time unit. These methods have an additional version which has an int as a parameter. This parameter represents the number of permits the thread that uses them wants to acquire or release. With this, we conclude this video. Here we used semaphore class to protect more than one copy of a resource and printed documents in 3 different printers. Superb!